All right, and I have just kind of a sample Divi site that I'm dinking around with, and I'm going to go in and make a new page, and I'm going to check out making a contact form inside of Divi. Now, most of you probably won't need to go outside of Divi to make a contact form, but there are really good plugins for doing much more complicated forms than what Divi has coming out of the box. So I will use the Divi builder. I will build from scratch. And let's say I'm just going to make one row, and maybe I'll have it with this type of column where I've got like a third on one side. Maybe I will add, or here, maybe I'll put another row. Let's see, put this row with a single column, and I'm going to put a title in here. What's a title? I guess it would just be text. And I'm going to tell it to be, please contact me. All right, go to my design, into my text, and let's see. Maybe I'll just make it nice and big, 40 pics. Great. And maybe I will also center it. Oops, that let me change the justification. I'm here. Oh, here it is. Alignment. I'll center it. And I'll even give it a drop shadow. No, I won't. Okay. So I have some text here. And now I actually want to drag this entire row above it. There we go. Nice and easy. So please contact me. And then over here, maybe I will add an image, and I will leave it the placeholder image. All right, and now here I'm going to add a contact form. All right, but by default, this is what the form starts with. So I'm just going to hit OK. And well, actually, there's one thing I need to do before the form will work, and we need to tell it where to actually go. Okay, so I'm going to make this a bit bigger, and you can see that by default within the form contact settings, all right, I've got these different fields, a name, email, and a message. Great. I could add new fields. I'll come back to that in a minute. I could title the form if I want. We don't need a title, but if I had a title, I'll do work for money, right? If we did that, so I can title the form itself down here if I want, which is kind of cool, but I'm not going to do that for now. Just point out that we can. And then there's the success message, what you want it to say once someone actually submits it. You will say, awesome, I will get back with you shortly. Okay, and then, all right, so that doesn't actually show up on screen. That shows up after we press submit and launch our form. And then maybe we want to change what our submit button. Maybe it will say send, maybe it will say message, but whatever, very self-explanatory, easy. I will leave it as submit to change things. But even without a default success message or a title, or even if I change nothing, what you do need to have is in the email thing is where you actually want to send this, right? So maybe I'll send this to my Gmail account, right? And then the message pattern, I can click this and you can define it. Notice that, you can just click a little help menu. I can define like what from the fields is going to be in my email and what order and stuff. But if I just leave it default, then it should just work, right? So that's all I really need to do to make a contact form work out of the box. Is I need to just add it, and I need to put my email address in here for it to work. So if I do this and I save this page, publish it, so then I can maybe go view it. I'm going to exit the visual builder. Okay, so now I'm looking at the actual page. Please contact me. And my name is Joe Schmo. My email address is jschmo@email.com. My message is, your work is so awesome. I must pay you to do things. Yes. Now, this by default comes with a little math problem. Okay, this 8 plus 6 equals whatever. If I try to submit this, it will tell me, please fill in the following fields, CAPTCHA. If you haven't heard this word before, this is what a lot of forms on the web, some of you, may have seen what Google makes you like pick pictures and stuff. It can be annoying to prove you're human, but when you're running a website, it can be much, much, much more annoying to get like 1,000 emails in one day because you don't have some kind of protection from spam set up. All right, so this one comes with a basic one from Divi by default that will get rid of some spam. So if I put in 14 here to prove I'm human, now it will actually let me submit. and it gives me my response. Awesome, I will get back with you shortly. All right, so I'm sure in a minute that'll come into my email box and that'll be great. But what I want to show you is just some of the options, and mainly I want to show you about the CAPTCHA thing, because sometimes that just little plus CAPTCHA isn't quite enough and you can get more complicated with Google stuff. So let me go back into the edit visual builder, and I can go back in to edit my contact form. So first of all, maybe I want a different field. All right, now I can go in and edit any of these fields. I can also just kind of drag them around and, you know, look at it in real time. It's changing over there on the right. It's pretty cool. I can go into edit my name field and I can change it from name to, maybe I want to call it moniker. I don't even think that's how that's spelled, but maybe it is. I don't know, whatever. I guess I'll have to save it for that to take. Oh, that's the field ID. I'm sorry. The field ID is kind of what it's referred to behind the scenes, but sometimes it's the same. Okay, so now it updates. So very, very easy to update what your fields say. Within the options, you can set up actually quite a bit of things. So besides, right now, these are all input fields. Here, I'll just go to add a new one. It's obvious you can go in and edit these. If I go back out to field settings, contact form settings, there we go. All right, so I can add a new field and ID, whatever, probably fill out itself. New field, we'll call it maybe fave color. All right, so maybe we want the user's favorite color, and that's the title. And out of the field options, instead of an input field where we're just going to let them, so they're added down here under the message, instead of just letting them type in their favorite color, maybe we can choose checkboxes or radio buttons, which would let them choose one out of it. Or we could do a select drop down. Okay, let's do the select drop down. That'll work. And now we have all the options. So maybe it's red. Add another one. Maybe it's blue. Add another one. Maybe it's yellow. Okay, that's good. And is it a required field, meaning someone has to tell us their favorite color before they submit it or not? That's a big thing with forms. So I believe all the fields you add are default required, but you can make them not required. If, for example, you're trying to get certain information from people that they don't want to give you or they may not have, you can make it not completely required. All right, so I'll come back to these other options in a moment, but for right now, I just hit OK. Now all of a sudden, I guess I have to publish it to actually see it in action. Exit the builder. What I would typically do is have this open in a separate browser so I can just flip over to the other browser and see it real quickly so I'm not constantly going in and out of the visual builder. But now that I'm out of it, now I can click and see my drop down to pick between red, blue, and yellow. All right, so besides just input fields, you can have select drop downs, you can have radio buttons, you can have checkboxes, you can have quite a few different fields out of the box and add as many as you want to collect whatever information. So some of you that, you know, are doing very specific type of art or specific types of kind of contracts, you could ask more about what the project might be, like, you know, illustration versus photography, and you can collect a little more info about what a prospective client might want through a form can be really useful. All right, so I'm going to go back into enabling this, and let's go back in here, and it says field 4, so it looks like I can, so the ID did automatically fill out. I just named field 4, so maybe I'll name it fave color instead. So when I look at it, that's what it says. Okay, so it looks like the ID doesn't like spaces, so added a little underscore, no big deal. So in the field options, that's where we can change the field type and whether it's required or not. Conditional logic, this is where it can get a little complicated, but it's pretty sweet how much Divi has built in that you can do with forms. Like, it's just really cool that most of the time you won't need a separate plugin. But if I were to enable conditional logic, then what that means is, like, for example, if the moniker equals Chris, then all of a sudden that's what would make that field come up. Okay, so it's only enabled if my name is Chris. There's a lot to this. I won't really go through, but there's ways to say, like, make one selection and then show other fields based on that selection. So you could, like, choose your state, for example, and then show a drop down with all of the cities within that particular state. If you had a drop down ready for every single state, you could set up crazy conditional logic to make the form a little more dynamic and have fields come and go based on selections of other fields, which can blow your head up real quickly, but there's some cool stuff there. Inside the link, so module link, I guess that's probably on all modules. I'm not sure why you would link anything from your contact page. That's probably built into all of them. And then definitely the background is built into all of them, but just knowing that you can put your own, color or image or any kind of background behind a particular field. Looks like in this case, it's just showing up on the edge right there, but that's kind of a cool effect right there if I were to add a little color splash to those. Let's see what else is in here. All right, so I think that's it for the actual individual fields. We can get into design. If we go to fields, now we've got all kinds of background color, text color, focus color, margins, all kinds of stuff to affect how the fields actually look and work. All right, but ultimately you can just add and create and change the level of as many different fields as you want to collect from someone. And again, title, success message, what the submit button says, under email, where's this going, and then if it just sends everything. Here's my email from Joe Schmo came in. Your work is so awesome, I must pay you to do things. Awesome. Redirect, this is, you can set it up to redirect to a page after they submit the form. So instead of staying on the home page, you can decide to go send them somewhere else. Spam protection, I'll come right back to this in a moment because this is the last thing I kind of want to talk about. That's the whole CAPTCHA thing. Link, yeah, link and background, those kind of must be on all modules. And then the admin label, that I guess is what you would see kind of in the back end. So I don't really care about that either. I believe all three of those are on all modules. But the spam protection, this is where the default basic CAPTCHA is on. If I wanted to just be a rebel and not worry about spam, I could just say no. And now I don't have that stupid little math problem on my form anymore. All right, but I would recommend that you at least have the stupid little math problem, or you can just try it and see what happens. Once you push your site live and we make some moves to try and do some search engine optimization, to at least submit it to the search engines, let them know you're there, all that kind of stuff, you may just start getting slammed with a bunch of spam going through your contact form, because that's one of the ways that these bots do it. That's why so many sites have these things. If you start finding yourself getting slammed, you can do the basic CAPTCHA, or then we can get real if the basic CAPTCHA is not enough with the spam protection service. Right now, it's really default to reCAPTCHA, and reCAPTCHA is a Google thing. So if I go open a new window here and look for reCAPTCHA, you have to go set it up in your Google account, okay? And you could watch a video all about it. We're not going to do it, but I can go into the admin console. Anyway, it's a whole thing. It's probably outside of the scope of what you guys are going to need to do. You're probably just fine with the default, but I've had to do this for clients before. So it's kind of worth pointing out that you have to get in to your Google account, and you have to basically there's a paid enterprise level that we're not going to mess with. There is a free level that you have to get in and basically set up your account so that when you are in Divi and you choose reCAPTCHA, then it will actually you'll be logged in and you can choose your account, and then you can set up all kinds of more complicated things. Like here's where you need to add your account name, your site key, and your secret key, which you'll get by setting up your reCAPTCHA account. Again, it's a free version, and this will give you much, much better spam control. And you may not need anything there. There's different levels in the background of it that can show you. You can either just have it work behind the scenes, or you can have it be the checkbox that says prove I'm human, or you can have it be the thing that you have to choose an image, all depending on what level you need. So you can get pretty deep with the spam protection, which you may just gloss over right now, but you may hit a point where you're getting 100 spam emails a day out of your contact form, and you may want to revisit this. All right, so for right now though, doing the cancel out of this, just doing the default basic spam protection that comes with it is a good idea. So if you used a layout that already had a contact form in it, it's a pretty good idea just to kind of check that out and see if it already has some kind of spam protection, and if not, you might want to add it. All right, so that's it with forms. It's pretty easy. You can throw one in any column and any row and any page that you want, And you just really just have to add your email to it and it'll just magically work. And then you can set up the form fields to say whatever you want and look however you want and give yourself a little protection. And that's all you should really need. There are, I'll save and exit. There are a ton of plugins out there, just like for anything else. If I go to my plugins and I want to add a new one and I just type in contact form, it's going to give me all kinds. Contact form 7 with 5 million active installations. WP Forms with 4+ million installations. Ninja Forms with over 1 million. So there are lots and lots of things that people use forms for that these, you can do simple stuff, but some of these can get much, much more complicated than even what Divi has built in with setting up different types of fields and just different functionality within the forms. But it's a big part of stuff on the web. Most of the time, as a portfolio site, you want people to contact you. Most of the time, if you're building a site for a client, it's their business and they're meeting customers, and there can be all kinds of different forms collecting information or passing information back and forth in different ways. Making double sure and triple sure that the contact form is actually working. I've seen that happen before, where clients have launched something and they've, did a marketing campaign and they just totally lost out on everything and lost a bunch of money because their contact form wasn't actually working. Another thing I want to show you real quickly was just how when you're dealing with images, specifically, there's other modules that do it too, but there is a way that you can actually animate your images in. And I believe you find it in design. So right now I just have my placeholder image, but down here, and the animation will kind of happen if you have a long scrolling page. The animation will kind of happen as you scroll once the image kind of becomes available, so it can make some pretty cool effects. But by default, you have no animation, but you have these different options: fade, slide, bounce. Like let's say I want this text folder to bounce in. I think you can do that on a lot of things. I think you have animation on several. Let's see if we can animate our entire contact form. Under design, aha, we can. We can make our whole contact form flip in. It's kind of cool. So again, I will save it and exit the visual builder as it loads the page. Now I should see my thing. There we go. So now it's just a little more fun. Something Divi gives you real simple out of the box to do. I'm bouncing my image in and flipping my contact form in. Now, don't use this like ad nauseum to the point where it's just like super annoying and things are flying around everywhere with no rhyme or reason, but do use this in terms of, having a little subtle motion here there, subtle fading in, if you'd like. Can we go any deeper with the animation besides just choosing one of those presets? Oh, yes, of course. So even if I just choose fade, like just have the thing fade in, each animation has like insane options with it. So if you haven't seen this yet, like for example, we can animate only, like everywhere else, only on tablet or phone. And then, the delay before the animation starts, how long it actually takes, its actual easing algorithm and how it works, whether it repeats or whether it keeps happening. So if I set this to loop, I can just make this image apparently incessantly fade in over and over again. Maybe it'll happen if I exit. But anyway, if you haven't seen that, that's a really cool option inside of Divi to be able to kind of do some really quick animation stuff. It's under design and then animation down towards the bottom. All right, so if you haven't looked at some of the design stuff, you should take a look at these because there's quite a bit you can do.